Magic the Gathering, Players Championship, Semi-Final 2, Yuuya Watanabe, Paulo Vitor Damo da Rosa, Rich Hagan, Zach Hill, approximately in that order. There's Yuuya Watanabe. Good luck. They shake hands. It's been a great week already, and we are underway with Yuuya Watanabe, Marsh Flats. Paulo comes up with Stomping Ground. Ow, the first damage of the match. It's 2 points, and here's a Curd Ape. Zach Hill. We're underway.
Stomping Ground pretty good with the 3 Curd Apes that Paulo currently has in his hand. Interesting leading with the Curd Ape as opposed to the Step Links. That means that he either can't get up planes for the Step Links or doesn't want to. We see Blood Crypt over there from Watanabe's side, but this match, in stark contrast to the previous match, is going to be a lot of main phase, a lot of creatures on the board, and a lot of creatures coming off the board as things like Lightning Bolt that Watanabe just drew happen.
So there's another land, number 2 for Watanabe. Paulo will start by attacking, which isn't anything like the first semi-final, as we attack for 2. And we're going to see a second Curd Ape. Then we see a land being swiftly cracked.
3.
And Paulo is down to 17.
And
15, rather.
Not only the pace of these matches is different, but I mean, just look at how fast Paulo is playing his cards.
Absolutely. Well, Paulo is a man of speed. There is no doubt about it. There you see Hallowed Fountain. Here's Step Links now. That's a big army already in play for Paulo Vitor Damo da Rosa. We're going to see a Lightning Bolt at end of turn from Yuuya Watanabe. He's got a Maelstrom Pulse in hand. He's got a Dark Confident in hand. Maelstrom Pulse for the Curd Apes. Goodbye, Phase 1.
And that is absolutely devastating right here. You don't see Maelstrom Pulse actually able to take advantage of being able to hit multiple targets all that often, but that's exactly what it does now and sweeps the board. I was wondering about the Lightning Bolt on the Step Links, given that Paulo, the Forest in his hand is his last land right now, but that reveals exactly why that happened as the Pulse takes out 2/3 Curd Apes.
Well, here's another one for Paulo, but that is big advantage early to Yuuya. He's drawn into Liliana of the Veil. And he now takes a little moment to pause. Do you know, for one moment there, you saw, Zach, that Paulo just sort of picked up all the cards in his graveyard. I thought he was just going to go, yeah, that'll do it, let's go to game 2. Because it had a feel of a kind of playtest game almost, like, yeah, there we go, good fight. But no, we go on. And there's a Kitchen Finks in hand for Watanabe, as I say, the Liliana Veil that he's drawn this turn.
And you don't want to use that Liliana too quickly because you know Paulo's got Geist of Saint trapped as a key threat in his deck. Now, can't actually cast it off his current mana because both his white and his blue come from Hallowed Fountain. Kitchen Finks 3/2 right now against the 2/3 Curd Ape and comes back as well as gaining him life.
Yeah, and this is what Yuuya was talking about, the fact that, you know, here I am, I've got a Kitchen Finks, he's used a Lightning Bolt to kill it, but it comes back, I've got more life all of a sudden, and it's that is tough.
Right, and Watanabe might come back down. You know, this attack is at 19, but I mean, if all that happens right here is Kitchen Finks races Curd Ape, Watanabe still out ahead in that exchange.
And Paulo continues to hemorrhage life from lands, as you would expect in this format. As he looks through and you hear the crisp clack of the cards from Watanabe.
And he's trying to find the land to get, looking at Steam Vents, preparing to take even more damage, following all the way down to 12 for the Geist of Saint Traft. He needs the land to cast his spells, but Paulo, not really a whole lot of life to work with right here.
Yeah. There are 9 separate one-ofs in the land department for Paulo Vitor Damo da Rosa, so that's why the searching can take a little bit of a while. Where is it? I'm sure I had it in here earlier.
The Lightning Bolt very likely to dispatch Curd Ape here so that Liliana can clear the way, get Geist of Saint Traft out.
Now that's interesting. Watanabe has gone for Dark Confident, which potentially is going to hemorrhage his life total, but he feels confident, no joke intended, that at 19 he's in pretty good shape, and that's okay.
Right, and now not too many good attacks for Paulo right here. Both the Kitchen Finks and Dark Confidant deal with Geist of Saint Traft. If, on the other hand, Paulo just attacks with Curd Ape, Watanabe gets to untap with Dark Confidant in play, very likely to get him the land he needs to activate those Bloodbraid Elves. Now, Watanabe can use Lightning Bolt here, too, if he wants to, just to preserve his life total and make his Liliana's the Veil that much more potent. You hear a deep sigh from Paulo as he tries to figure out this attack step.
Yeah, this game certainly so far has been all about Maelstrom Pulse.
Yeah.
Those. I had 2, and now I have none. So Paulo will attack with just the Curd Ape, so now presenting Watanabe with options on the blocking department. And he's in fact not even going to get that far, he's just going to blow the Curd Ape out of the water with Lightning Bolt.
I see Snapcaster Mage can get back a burn spell from Paulo's graveyard. Also a Tarmogoyf, which is not going to be within the range of those burn spells. Tarmogoyf really requiring a Terminator, another Pulse from Watanabe to deal with. On the other hand, Watanabe has access to a whole lot of cards.
Snapcaster Mage, I'll get back a Lightning Bolt. Lightning Bolt will take out Dark Confident. On we go. This is just pulsatingly fast magic. Blink and you miss it. Again, a real study in contrast with semi-final 1. Tarmogoyf now from Watanabe, and of course the graveyard's filling up with creatures, with instants, with sorceries, with lands sitting there. So Tarmogoyf's getting big, and they just check that. Yep, it's 4, it's a 4-5, so big threat time from Watanabe. And that Geist Trap looking a little bit lonely at the moment on Paulo's side of the board. But good news, he's got a Tarmogoyf ready. And now here's Casali Pride Mage to empty his hand. So his stage right now is set. Watanabe, plenty of cards in hand. What he doesn't have is plenty of land in play.
Right, doesn't have a fourth land for that pair of Bloodbraid Elves. The second Tarmogoyf is extremely good for him right here. Very important, actually, since if all Paulo attacked with was a singleton Tarmogoyf, the Casali Pride Mage would actually allow it to power through Watanabe's Tarmogoyfs. Now, a double block still risky here for Watanabe because of Path to Exile. Paulo has one card in his hand. It very well could be Path. Liliana here also not really doing a whole lot of work because the Snapcaster Mage really presenting a very unappealing Edict target. And this game might take a lot longer than we were expecting it to after we saw that Maelstrom Pulse.
Yeah, because Paulo's deck is pretty sort of classic in the sense of sort of 20-20-20 in very rough terms, the sort of split between land, creatures, and spells. Not quite that, I believe there's 16 spells in total, but 4 Lightning Bolt, 4 Helix, 4 Tribal Flames, 4 Path to Exile. That's the Carnage suite, if you like, those 16. So Paulo, Tarmogoyf, Geist, Casali Pride Mage, Snapcaster. Watanabe looks with his double Tarmogoyf and the already persistent Kitchen Finks.
I feel like a block of Tarmogoyf plus Kitchen Finks is not unreasonable here, but with Paulo at 12 life, I feel like if you're Watanabe, you might just want to attack right back with your Goyfs. Another option, like he looks like he's preparing to do, is just block with everything.
The
and
triple
say,
header.
all right, I'll trade.
It's a 1-1 trade, so there we go. And if you're wondering, just to confirm, the reason that that Tarmogoyf works for Paulo is because of the Casali Pride Mage and Exalted.
Right. We see a Bolt for Watanabe, can get Casali Pride Mage out of the way. I've got to wonder if you're Watanabe, when do you start attacking here? Paulo at 12, you had a pretty comfortable 19. You can't really take too many hits from that Tarmogoyf.
So there's Liliana. It's sacrifice a creature. So Paulo will lose his Snapcaster Mage, no surprise there.
Paulo with only a pair of lands in hand, really falling behind right here. Still no fourth land for Bloodbraid Elf. Watanabe likely to cast Inquisition to check out what's going on Paulo's side.
Yeah, so that's Inquisition of Kozilek that he drew, but in fact he's just going to tick up Liliana of the Veil. He will discard Inquisition. Paulo discards one of his 2 land. And Watanabe with double Bloodbraid Elf and Lightning Bolt, with a board increasingly in control, is heading towards what looks like it might be an early lead in this best of 5 again. Remember, here in the semi-finals of the 2012 Players' Championship.
Watanabe playing very conservatively here, leaving both his creatures back. He could attack for about half of Paulo's life total, but again, very vulnerable to a card like Path to Exile on the attack. Feels like no real reason to get ahead of himself with 2 Bloodbraid Elves in his hand, just passing the turn right back to Paulo right here. Paulo, yeah, and then we're going to see Bolt hit Casali Pride Mage before an attack can happen. Paulo, grabbing his Geist Trap, looking if he's going to attack with it. I'm wondering if he just drew a second Geist and says, okay, am I going to trade this in for 4 damage?
The thing is, it's not even a particularly exciting 4 damage. It's 19 down to 50. Maybe if it was 12 apiece, you could say, well, okay, I'll get you to 8, then I'll look to draw something fun, get you to another 4 maybe somehow, and kind of craft a plan from there. But 19 from here, given how much is already assembled on the other side, seems huge.
You also you're realizing if you're Paulo, okay, well, he's got a Liliana the Veil with 2 counters, so if my creature doesn't do something right here, not likely to do anything at any point. Now, it turns out the Angel attacking Liliana, so basically doing the Liliana Edict activation for Yuuya, as opposed to giving him the option to keep ticking it up.
Yeah. So now the board is clear except one lonely Tarmogoyf, although I think when Tarmogoyfs are this big, they don't really care about feeling lonely. Paulo piling on down his Dark Confident again for Yuuya. Paulo at 7. He's drawn, he's having a little look through his graveyard. And we see a Tribal Flames in hand, a couple of land. So here comes Tribal Flames, kill off the Dark Confident, lay one of the 2 land, that's all he can do. Yuuya never got to 4 land here, but it looks like it may well not matter. Paulo drops from 7 to 2. A second Tarmogoyf. Paulo at 2. Paulo has a look. He's going to crack. Might as well go to 1. What's the odds? Let's see if there's anything he can possibly come up with. I think we're heading for sideboards, boys and girls, with Yuuya Watanabe comprehensively outdistancing the Zoo deck here in game 1 without a Cascade spell in sight.
Right, yeah, Yuuya never getting to 4 mana for those Bloodbraid Elves, with the Maelstrom Pulse very powerful. Tarmogoyf did a lot of work there.
Yuuya 1, Paulo 0. Join in the fun of Magic Celebration on September the 8th at a local game store near you. Play in a Mini Master Magic event at no charge, compliments of Wizards of the Coast. Each participant gets 1 Magic 2013 booster pack while supplies last. For more information, visit wizards.com/Magic Celebration. All right, Zach, so that was pretty routine for Watanabe, and I mean, Paulo can't see, of course, that Watanabe is sitting there with his signature Jund mechanic of Cascade in hand doing nothing for him. There was no advantage generated there, but you'd have to feel a little bit miserable if you could see Watanabe's hand and see how much worse it could have been if Watanabe had got some land.
Well, that's exactly right. I mean, but what we did see was simply that, you know, Tarmogoyf, one of the format-defining cards in Modern, and Watanabe's pair of Tarmogoyfs against Paulo's lack of Tarmogoyfs, or, you know, traded one for the other, and Tarmogoyf really took the game away for Watanabe.
So let's take a look at the 2 sideboards. We begin with the Japanese player Yuuya Watanabe. He has a Thoughtseize, a Jund Charm, 1 Batterskull, a couple of Grafdigger's Cage, 2 Seal of Primordium, 2 Ancient Grudge, 2 Pyroclasm, 2 Obstinate Baloth, 1 Null Spellbomb, and 1 Olivia Voldaren. That's a very sexy card. And so, Zach, the thing here, Yuuya talked about this morning coming into here, he said, I have a lot of life gain after boarding.
Right. I mean, you're going to bring in Batterskull for sure. You're going to bring in both of those Obstinate Baloths. I think you want Olivia Voldaren just because if you untap it with it, the game's going to be over. A little less definite are the Pyroclasms and Jund Charms. Paulo's deck designed to be able to fight Pyroclasm pretty well with Loam Lion and Curdape. On the other end, Pyroclasm mops up Geist of Saint Traft and Snapcaster Mage, and most importantly, Step Links very well.
All right, so that's Yuuya Watanabe. Let's take you straight across to Paulo Vitor Damo da Rosa's sideboard, and that is going to come up on screen for you. We see Watanabe there. Let's take Paulo's. There's the list. 2 Elspeth Knight Errant. There's a single Oblivion Ring, couple of Mana Leak, a couple of Pyroclasm, a Singleton Thrun, the Last Troll, 2 Lingering Souls. Nice to see them putting in an appearance. First time I've seen them pretty much this weekend. 1 Shatterstorm, and the big set for Relic of Progenitus. He really doesn't like graveyards.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and really not that many graveyard decks or storm decks rearing their head at this tournament. I think Paulo is going to want Elspeth Knight Errant and Lingering Souls to try and combat some of the attrition that the Jund deck is producing. Unclear to me whether we want Mana Leak right here. There's some big spells you're going to need to counter, especially after board, those Obstinate Baloths, the Batterskull we talked about. On the other hand, it looks pretty ridiculous in your hand if your opponent just casts Bloodbraid Elf. You're sort of getting 2 for 1 no matter what. So I feel like Paulo's going to want to come more of a mid-range deck with the 3 and 4 drops. Also Thrun the Last Troll an option if you think he's going to side out Liliana, but really not too substantive of a change here from Paulo's side.
Okay, let me ask you about a couple of cards there as we head back to the table. The players shuffling, getting up for game 2. I want to ask you about Relic of Progenitus, which is a card that obviously works against Tarmogoyf, of which Paulo has 4, And yet a card that potentially he brings in for matches where he feels, actually, let's make Tarmogoyf less of an issue. Let's get them small, and let's make my burn spells a kind of route to victory. Do you think we might see Relica Progenitors come in here?
I think I'm cheating a little bit because I saw Paulo side some of them out when he was shuffling, so I certainly don't think we'll see the full 4. I mean, that said, Tarmogoyf was so powerful in Game 1 that Paulo could be saying, all right, let's make this game about Tribal Flames. Given the amount of life gain that Watanabe has after board, though, I don't think that'll be too likely. I guess we'll have to wait and see.
Okay, and the other question I have for you is, you talk about Lingering Souls as a possibility. That obviously plays into the Pyroclasm effects, if you will, from Watanabe's side. But Watanabe has already seen all these Kurd Apes. He's well aware that the Loam Lions are there. So does he start having less of those Pyroclasm effects intentionally?
I think so. I mean, it's still not clear to me that Pyroclasm even comes in, and Pyroclasming Lingering Souls really not even that good. So.
Okay. So we kick off with turn 1, Kurd Ape. That's what happened last time. Paulo will be looking for a different result here. He's already down at 18 because that Stomping Ground came into play untapped. It's Raging Ravine on the other side for Watanabe. Now it's 18 apiece because that Kurd Ape has attacked here on turn 2 of Game 2 of Semi-Final 2.
The thing that's so challenging, you hear that side from Paulo about playing these decks, is just figuring out which lands you want. You've done this, numerous times, but like Stomping Ground, if he goes and gets Hallowed Fountain, he can't cast Geist of Saint Draft. On the other hand, like Tarmogoyf sitting in his hand, wanting to be cast yet again a pair of Kurd Apes, and he's got to be thinking about how devastating that Maelstrom Pulse was from the first game.
And I guess the thing is here, Paulo, we see he's got a Tribal Flames in hand, he's got a Lightning Helix in hand, he's got a Tarmogoyf in hand. And this is a game where the Zoo decks, if they can get that quick start, one extra turn even from a pair of Kurd Apes can really change the whole dynamic of the game. It isn't that you're just 4 life points closer to death, it's that you start being in range of, well, here's a Lightning Helix for 3, here's a Tribal Flames for 5, here's one hit with a Tarmogoyf as a 4/5. That's very quick. And you see there, Watanabe falls to 14, Paulo with the advantage being on the play here. And one more hit, and you would think that is properly in the kill zone, as Paulo adds land number 3 and passes.
All right, you've got to remember, Paulo's deck has 4 Tribal Flames and 3 Snapcaster Mages, so 14, 10 is sort of the magic number.
Right.
I think.
So that's where we need to be watching out for. We see Watanabe actually heading back up with Kitchen Finks, and they will come back again with Persist.
And I believe the life total actually should be 18.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, that's right. There we go, up on the screen now. It was all pretty brisk, that. It was like 14, go to 16. Yeah, I'm going to kill it. I'm going to bring it back. And Paulo's going to go up as well because of the Lightning Helix that he used to kill the Kitchen Finks first time around. Now, of course, the one little good bit out of that exchange for Paulo, aside from the incidental, I'll have 3 life back, is that both his Kurd Apes now outclass the persistent Kitchen Finks. 2-3 against 2-1.
That's exactly right. Now, something that's got to be different about this match than the first one is Watanabe does have the 4th land for the Bloodbraid Elf in his hand.
Okay.
On the other hand is 3 Lilianas looking kind of sad. Liliana, not the Planeswalker. Some Planeswalkers, you just use one, use the second ability, it goes away, and you can play. After you play Liliana and use the Edict ability, it's actually just kind of sitting there awkwardly. It can't Edict again. You can't play another one because it costs -2 to remove the loyalty. So after it's at 1 loyalty, you kind of have to deal with it. So you have to think that Watanabe wishes one of those Lilianas in his hand was basically any other card.
Your life total. You had
I gained 3.
Yeah.
Yeah, they forgot, Watanabe forgot the 3-point life gain from the Lightning Helix for Paulo.
You get 18, Paulo 19.
Had a little interaction with Craig the Professor Jones, king of the Lightning Helix. He inquired whether I was going to be at the Grand Prix in Costa Rica. I am not, but I do wonder whether that means that he might be, which would be pretty exciting to see him down there.
Yeah, very much so. I mean, Craig Jones is a part of one of the most exciting moments in Magic history. It'd be good to see him make a comeback.
What's on the top of the deck? Wow. Epic.
All right, so we see those Kurd Apes take Watanabe back down to 14. No real profitable blocks with Kitchen Finks. Paulo trying to figure out the best way to follow it up. Really has a lot of lands in his hand, both Tribal Flames and Tarmogoyf. You have to think he wants the Tarmogoyf on the board and is just trying to figure out what to do with the burn spell right now.
So, double Curd Ape continues to press against Yuuya Watanabe with that 2-1 Kitchen Finks now. Raging Ravine unlikely to be relevant anytime soon, but keep your eye on it because those are lands that kind of creep up on you a little bit, something that Simon Gertzen certainly took advantage of.
And we do see that Tarmogoyf come down from Paulo. You know, I'm wondering if Watanabe has the second black source to even make use of all of those Lilianas. Marsh Flats, it looks like he does.
Looks like he's just drawn into Kitchen Finks. Number 2, we're going to see Marsh Flats, put him to 13, but that 13 will not be there for very long. That Kitchen Finks may well come down. We'll see.
Yeah, it's an interesting decision here, whether you want to, and he gets the swamp in order to cast Liliana. Bloodbraid Elf does deal with one of the Curd Apes, assuming it can block. Also could potentially draw you into something even more devastating, like the Maelstrom Pulse we saw. Really any removal spell, or even a Tarmogoyf of your own. So it's sort of the guaranteed consistency of Kitchen Finks versus the upside of Bloodbraid. But
here we go, first drum roll of the day. Kitchen Finks into Inquisition of Kozilek. And we'll see a Tribal Flames, because although it can deal up to 5 damage, it does only cost 2, which is why it's so fantastically efficient. From the old Gaia's Might Get There, Raphael Levy Grand Prix winning deck lists. That, of course, came from the card Gaia's Might, but Tribal Flame's a big part of that super aggressive domain strategy.
Now, the Bloodbraid Elf does not remove any of Paulo's threats from the board, but in effect gives Watanabe 5 additional life points, plus make sure that Bloodbraid Elf remains on the battlefield to take out one of those Curd Apes. Can't be too unhappy with the Inquisition there, even though it was probably not the best possible card.
Sure.
Still did a lot of work.
And that, again, speaks to the power of Cascade, when you see the things that you don't particularly want still doing an awful lot of good work.
Well, and that's what's so good about Cascade after sideboard, and that's why the Jund deck is very good in these best of 5 series. You make sure that you're not cascading into the things you don't want to see.
So Watanabe will double block Tarmogoyf, so that's a straightforward 2-for-1 trade, which sounds marvelous for Paulo. But Watanabe at 13, Paulo is still putting pressure. This time the Curd Apes are still in play. Watanabe looks, but he has so many cards in hand right now.
He's got a choice between another Bloodbraid Elf or a Kitchen Finks. At 9 life, I feel like you want to just play the Finks right here. On the other hand, you can say, okay, I just want to get the most use out of my mana and play the Bloodbraid Elf. But
the thing is, you don't. Why would you roll the dice? Which is what's happening here. Let's see what comes from it. Oh, thank you so much. Bloodbraid Elf into Kitchen Finks. But I wonder why you roll the dice rather than just saying, I tell you what, let's be safe here. Let's go to 11. Let's get myself up there. And now with haste, if it isn't going to block, might as well attack. In it comes Bloodbraid Elf, and Paulo's at 15. Watanabe up to 11. He's got another Kitchen Finks in hand, remember. So things are looking pretty reasonable at this stage of game 2 for Watanabe.
Well, I mean, maybe the best possible cascade for Watanabe there. I mean, it's arguable. You know, I don't know whether we're right or not, but we were talking about playing Finks over Bloodbraid Elf anyway. Why not have a 3-2 haste on top of that and another Finks in reserve? So Watanabe's got to be very pleased with the result of that cascade. And now being on the offensive, Paulo's got to take a good look at his lands, how much damage he takes from those, and how much damage Watanabe can present. Watanabe has 6 points of power on the table. That would render Paulo dead in just 3 attacks, assuming that the game would pan out that long.
The trouble is, though, if you're Paulo, as soon as you start thinking about being on the defense, then you just basically guarantee yourself losing to Cascade further down the track, because we've just seen a match where you get buried in card advantage, and ultimately that's what happens with Bloodbraid Elves coming around and just taking out. I think Paulo, to an extent, has to just try and get this thing done. Somehow he has to keep forcing through, no matter what the sort of the collateral damage is, in a way.
That lightning bolt just devastating now for Watanabe. He can cast both it and the Edict from Liliana of the Veil. The attack from Bloodbraid Elf and Kitchen Finks would take Paulo down to 11. Down to 10. Yep. Raging Ravine on the table means that next turn Paulo could fall to 1.
Here's Kitchen Finks from Watanabe. This is total control for Yuuya Watanabe. And he is not going to be far away from a 2-0 lead very soon.
Watanabe opting to play kitchen finks instead of Liliana, not focusing on removing Paulo's threats, instead presenting some of his own. He represents 12 power worth of attacks plus 3 points of lightning bolt damage in his hand on the offensive end. On the defensive end, he could block a Kurt Ape and bolt the other one, but Paulo, not attacking right now, realizes the need to block, and Watanabe seizes the opportunity to really capitalize right here.
So double kitchen finks. Here's Liliana of the Veil. Away you go. Paulo's got a lightning helix ready for Bloodbraid Elf, so that obviously bumps Paulo back up to 13. But does that really help him very much? It really does not.
It's hard to say. Yuuya trying to debate whether to play the Verdant Catacombs or keep it in hand to tick up Liliana. Not really a whole lot coming out of Paulo's deck right now. He's a little bit mana flooded, and yeah, I agree with you, Rich. I think we're going to see Yuuya crossing this one off his match slip pretty soon. Well, it's game 2.
Yep. So, tick away. Discard. It's both lands. Paulo will he'll activate Raging Ravine. In it comes. And just like that, the Japanese juggernauts roll on 3-0 already, home and host, and with his feet up waiting for the final. It is Yuuya Watanabe, Shota Yasuoka, and now at 2-0, we have Yuuya Watanabe 1 game away from a possible Players' Championship final. You can play Magic at a store near you every Friday. Earn Planeswalker points and battle against your friends in Friday Night Magic. September's Friday Night Magic promo card is Lingering Souls. Visit wizards.com/FNM to find a store near you.
A little face-up shuffling a lightning bolt for Yuuya Watanabe there. Not really giving Paulo a ton of information. We saw that the last game, and it turns out removing threats for 1 mana, very good, but
so let's take a look at the 2 players. There you see Yuuya Watanabe shuffling away from Japan, of course. First made his debut at an Alliance booster draft in 2002 back in Japan. There you see some of his stats coming up there. He's only 23, closing in on 300 lifetime pro points. Just an astonishing record. And Zach, a master of the Grand Prix. When you look at his winning performances, they're just pretty awesome. Take us through some of those you see there on the screen, the titles.
Well, we've got first place in Kyoto in 2007, first place in Melbourne 2009.
And that was against Tomohiro Saito.
Right, some really quality players there. Also Shanghai, Pittsburgh, Kuala Lumpur, Manila. The victory is not the whole story. 16 Grand Prix top 8s for Yuuya in all corners of the world. I mean, again, a lot of people haven't played in 16 Grand Prix, much less made that top 8. And what we see is that means Watanabe very, very good at established formats, but as he's demonstrating here, also good in a format like Modern that isn't as well explored. So really just a master of the game at large.
Absolutely. Let's take you across to the other side of the table where you see Paulo Vitor Damo, again, one of our younger players here at the Players' Championship. Only 24, 362 now lifetime pro points. They're ticked up by 4 thanks to the World Magic Cup. Today, he will get 2 if he can pull out an unlikely comeback from 2-0 down to 3-2, but already 7 pro points in the bag this weekend. You see his big triumph, undoubtedly. Pro Tour San Juan, that's what his mum was referring to on her Twitter post. Remember San Juan, you started off 0-2, you came back to claim the title. Well, he's 0-2 here again. Interestingly, these two have quite the history with each other. They are 3-3 lifetime at major events before this weekend. Teams Rome in 2009. Paulo won that one. Brazil over Japan. That was a monster matchup that featured the likes of Carlos Ramao was in that match, and Shuhei Nakamura is part of the Japanese team that year. But then you've also got their last match, which went to Watanabe at Worlds in 2011. And from Watanabe's point of view, he had the win at Pro Tour Austin 2009, Minneapolis, Dallas. So they're kind of tied at 3-3, but now Watanabe very much advantaged. Zach, sculpt the way for Paulo to come back into the game here.
I think Paulo wants to do something he hasn't done yet, which is lead with a turn 1 step links and hope that Watanabe doesn't have Lightning Bolt. He can follow that up with an early Geist of Saint Trap, which we also haven't seen any of.
And with two of those threats coupled by something like a Path to Exile, which again we haven't seen yet, he can really force through a lot of damage. I mean, Paulo's draws been very subpar so far.
Yeah, we open up with a Temple Garden and nothing to go with it. No Step Links, no Lone Lion. See Raging Ravine from Watanabe. And I can tell you that in Watanabe's hand is Batterskull. So if this is a game that goes long, we talked about the life gain that Watanabe had. He has his Batterskull available out of the sideboard. He has it in his opening hand here in a potentially decisive Game 3.
All right, now we see Blood Crypt coming into play, untapped for Paulo. I think he's probably going to use it to cast Curd Ape, leaving a white open for the... no, he has Lightning Helix and Geist to Saint Trap. Geist very likely to come down next turn. Has Path to Exile mana open. Use it, filtering 2 mana now to cast Inquisition of Kozilek from Watanabe's side.
So he gets to see the full extent of the damage that could be coming his way. Path to Exile, Lightning Helix, Hallowed Fountain, Geist to Saint Trap, and the Tarmogoyf. That's the 5 cards. Paulo, once again, with a Curd Ape that so far, you just think how powerful that used to be, and arguably still is. But so far today, the Curd Apes have not got the job done.
Yeah, and I see another Inquisition in Watanabe's hand. I think what you do, you take Tarmogoyf and then you take Geist. Yeah, and all of a sudden, Paulo, basically out of threats right now. 2 points of damage from Curd Ape a turn, not exactly what he wants to be seeing.
But I believe he may have just drawn a backup Geist to Saint Trapped. I'm pretty sure that is what he drew. Bang! How about that?
And you have got to be... Look at the look on Watanabe's face.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, double Inquisition. You're basically with nothing. Sure, you have a Lightning Helix and a Path, but that's your lot. And then off the top, what a legend.
Now, we do see a Jun Charm, I believe that is, from Watanabe's side. Trying to figure out if he can cast it. Looks like he doesn't have a third land. He knows that Paulo has both Helix and Path to Exile. So I think what he's going for is for Tarmogoyf to eat a Path and for him to use Jun Charm next turn. Still going to be taking a lot of damage. 8 points of damage off this attack from Paulo. And that plus Lightning Helix signifies a lethal attack next turn, assuming Watanabe can't mount a defense.
Yeah, so now Paulo, for the first time, doesn't just have a board position, but has what feels like genuine potential pressure and genuine options that don't rely on Watanabe not having things. We see that Path to Exile as you drew it up, Zach. So Watanabe will go and fetch out a land. Looks like he's brought a swamp to the front of his deck.
You see him sitting there thinking about the sequence, making sure he can cast Jun Charm, making sure he can cast the other spells in his deck. And another Curd Ape comes down, and Paulo, yeah, I mean, even through this Jun Charm is going to get Watanabe down to 6 with a Lightning Helix in hand. Watanabe really needs to cast some Kitchen Finks or Ballast to recover those life points. He doesn't have really a lot of time to do that.
He does not. You said 10 was the magic number. Red alert on your screen at the bottom. That's where Watanabe is. And sure, he has a grip of 6 cards, but he needs to do things very, very soon. So he's looking at Liliana of the Veil on the right of his hand. He's got a Maelstrom Pulse there, Jun Charm, the Batterskull we talked about. Looks like a lightning bolt at the back end of his hand, the left-hand end. He brings Jun Charm to the front. So is he just determined to get rid of that Geist to Saint Traft at any cost?
Yeah, it's a really interesting decision right here. I can also see wanting to Maelstrom Pulse both of the Curd Apes so that your Liliana or Jun Charm can come down next turn. He does, in fact, decide to cast Jun Charm, but the thing is, now with Lightning Helix in Paulo's hand, he can mitigate the Maelstrom Pulse on one of the apes if he wants to, but Watanabe electing to preserve his life total as much as he can. Not in great shape right now, not in terrible shape. Kitchen Fink's going to be doing a lot of work to stabilize this game, and Paulo right now, again, trying to figure out, okay, well, with Geist gone, what is my plan right now?
So there's Finks, which is good-ish news for Watanabe, to be sure. Paulo now, the pace slows slightly. That's one of the things with Paulo. He's phenomenally fast-paced, but he takes his time to think when he needs it, but it does show you, it's very well telegraphed to opponents, I am now in the tank. He doesn't maintain that kind of steady rhythm that means you can't really tell what's going on. You can clearly see when the big decision points have been reached for Paulo.
And that decision point has been made with a Lightning Helix to the face for 3 points of damage at the end of the turn.
So now, here we go. 3 more mana. What's he drawn? Oblivion Ring away, the Kitchen Finks. In with Kurdape and Kurdape. Yuuya Watanabe down to 1 life. That 10 that was the danger zone very swiftly went away. It's now just 1. Yuuya, what are you going to do about those 2/3s? He's drawn a lightning bolt. He already had one. He can kill both Kurdapes right here. But will that be enough? Does Paulo have the point he needs to finish things off?
I think what you have to do is just cast Maelstrom Pulse right here and keep a Lightning Bolt open. It seems like your best play, but at 1 life, I mean, you are living by the skin of your teeth. You've got to draw more Finks or Obstinate Ballast as soon as you can. Batterskull in your deck, in your hand, but that requires both a land that isn't a sack land and an attack step to get you out of the danger zone.
And there are sack lands about in the deck, let's be honest. So we'll see. He sits there with 5 cards in hand and no spare life.
Another option right here is to Maelstrom Pulse the Oblivion Ring. Now that puts Kitchen Finks in play, taking him back to 3. If he leaves open Lightning Bolt mana, he can use that in a pinch to gain 2 life through a burn spell from Paulo.
Sure, if he does, and if he does that, he would still go back to 1, not to 0. If he was forced to do that, he would then take 1. So Watanabe, so there's Lightning Helix. This is exactly what we were talking about. Oh, Watanabe, the squeezes, and he just scoops them up.
Right, because even if he bolts his own creature, he goes up to 5, but back down to 2, and both apes can attack for exactly lethal.
And that's the end of the game. So there you have it. Paulo Vitor Damo da Rosa is on the scoreboard in lightning quick fashion. So well done to him. It is 2-1, and Watanabe must try again, this time on the play for game 4.
All right, so we see them shuffle up. Paulo looking, making a few sideboard selections a little bit differently, bringing back in the Kurdape and the Geist. I think he was just siding those out more to look like he's changing up his deck than to do anything meaningfully different. Again, Geist, a key part of that game. Yuuya Watanabe bringing out Jun Charm.
Zazzle lets you create a variety of products with Magic the Gathering images. There are dozens of classic and modern Magic images to choose from that can adorn everything from iPad and iPhone skins to greeting cards, posters, binders, stickers, and collectible stamps. For more information, visit wizards.com/Magic Merchandise.
An interesting decision from Watanabe right there. I mean, he had the Jun Charm for the Geist of Saint Trap, but it turned out not to be good enough anyway. So, really just taking it out, deciding to play a much more consistent game plan.
We're going to just show you a little something we cooked up earlier. This is a kind of conglomerate of the 16 players here. Let's see if we can take a look. This is the 16 players between them. 3,723 lifetime pro points. Let's go on. What comes next? That means they've played in over 400 Pro Tours with 47 top 8s and 11 titles. On we go. Well, what does that mean in terms of matches? Nearly 5,500 of those at a Pro Tour level. Let's carry on. What about their record? Well, it's over 3,000 wins. It's also a couple of thousand losses, 134 draws. Their win rate at the Pro Tour, 59%. Let's take you on to the next tier of pro level play, Grand Prix. They've played in 828 of them with, look at that, 139 Grand Prix top 8s, 25 titles between them. Now, the interesting thing there, obviously you play a lot more rounds sometimes in Grand Prix over time, so 7,834 matches, and that equates to a record. If we take a look now, let's see, 49, closing in on 5,000 match wins at GP level alone, 2,600 losses, and you see their win rate there very noticeably goes up. Of course, partly they're playing each other occasionally on the tour, these 16, but it is just slightly easier for the best of the best to make their way at Grand Prix level. Let's carry on, and now the numbers start to get silly. With 668 Pro Tour qualifiers, 208 of those resulted in top 8s and 47 were wins. You notice that 1 in 4 of their PTQ top 8s converted into wins virtually. And let's give you the overall numbers, and these are crazy. 40,403 lifetime sanction matches. That doesn't take into account the tens of thousands they've played of playtest games and three-man team events with friends at the weekend. 26,000 wins, 12,000 losses, a 65% win rate. Amazing. Let's take you to Game 4. Paulo Vitor Damo da Rosa and Yuuya Watanabe, adding to match 40,404 roundabout now.
All right, so I see Watanabe looking at his hand. He's got the bolt early on, decides to keep. So does Paulo. Paulo has the turn 1 step links that we haven't seen out of this match so far.
Yeah, given that he's got 8 possible single white openings, it's surprised we've not seen any yet so far. But we are going to now, presumably.
Now, we see Watanabe putting the Blood Crypt into play tap, despite the fact that he has both Inquisition of Kozilek and Lightning Bolt, really wanting to preserve his life total and give Paulo the opportunity to draw more relevant spells for him to take with Inquisition. Doesn't need to Inquisition a 1-drop. He has the Lightning Bolt, so really wanting to preserve his life total right here.
Neat. So Hallowed Fountain does indeed arrive as step links, provides that. Yuuya Watanabe will cast turn 2 Inquisition, and we will see these 6 cards. And we will see a Planeswalker, we will see Elspeth Knight Errant, we will see double Geist of St. Traft, we will see a Tarmogoyf, and we will see the up to 5 damage creature or player Tribal Flames, plus a land.
Now, this is not what you want to see here as your Inquisitioning. You can't take Elspeth, and taking Geist of St. Traft, which has got to be one of the most appealing targets, doesn't do anything as he has a second copy of what's already a legendary creature. Tarmogoyf, very reasonable choice right here. Tribal Flames, you probably say, all right, I'm not going to take that, but I'm going to play around it. But Watanabe has got to be worried about that Elspeth. Only 2 total lands in Paulo's hand right now. Definitely not double white just yet, but not really a lot of answers to that card should it come down.
Let me ask you, you would take Tarmogoyf over Tribal Flames. I'm interested because Watanabe has ways to fight Tarmogoyf on the ground. He has no answer directly to Tribal Flames. Tribal Flames at some point, if Watanabe is at a given life total, will deal him 5. So I wonder whether he might not take the Flames here.
It's certainly a reasonable option. I think with Obstinate Baloth in his hand, he can mitigate some of that burn, and it does look like he's, in fact, going to take the Tarmogoyf.
Sure.
Goyf just represents so many damage over so many turns.
Of course, yeah.
But he is looking at it. He might go with your choice, Rich.
He hasn't, yeah, he hasn't got the commentary in his ear, but I just see that he has plenty of things that can sit on the ground, and he has Tarmogoyfs to deal with. Tarmogoyfs, there are no cards that deal with Tribal Flames.
Yeah,
and there you go.
You're absolutely right, Rich.
Yeah. I mean, maybe everyone at home saying, that was the wrong play, it was terrible, and so are you, Rich. And that's fine too. But that's why we love Magic so much. There are always choices.
Well, I think the big one is simply that Paulo can't actually cast Tarmogoyf right here. Now, you know, in my mind, it was, okay, well, you can cast Tribal Flames for, what, 3 points of damage, not all that exciting. But Tarmogoyf, you're right, not all that threatening when it doesn't come out on the second turn of the game. Yeah. So, in general, kind of an awkward draw for Paulo right here. I think he had to say, all right, well, this hand is nearly unbeatable if I draw a sack land. My back's against the wall. I need to take some risks.
Sure.
So we see why he went with that, but definitely unexciting for Paulo here.
So landfall, that triggers the step link, so it's no longer a very miserable 0-1, but Watanabe will not allow it to pile in and threaten his 20-point life total. Paulo is down to 15 already, and now here's Kitchen Finks for Watanabe. That is a very nice turn 3 play for him. Paulo has drawn another Tarmogoyf. That is not the correct answer. Oh, Brazilian fans, I'm afraid your boy's in trouble here. Kitchen Finks coming in, dropping Paulo to 15. It's the first attack of the game, and it's against Paulo, and he's already down to 13 if he takes it, or 12 indeed.
Well, and missing that land drop, just absolutely devastating for Paulo right here. Like, even if he gets to his 3rd land, he needs it to produce green, because Tarmogoyf is actually important to stabilize right now. Geist of St. Traft with Watanabe at 22, about to be 26 from Obstinate Baloth. Not really the card you want playing defense. And Watanabe about to represent 7 points on the next counterattack to Paulo's 12 life totals. So not really a lot of things Paulo can draw right here. Really needs a green mana, though, to at least create a board presence and try to get something going.
Sure. Here's Liliana of the Veil.
Okay, so opts to play Liliana over Obstinate Baloth right now, we see.
And it will be discard. land opposite a Geist, land for Watanabe, end of turn, Snapcaster Mage, just to get something into play. That was not a land either for Paulo. I think that might have been one of those early white drops. Oh, it's Lingering Souls, I think.
So Watanabe saving himself some life points by cracking the Verdant Catacombs and getting a Ravnica dual land into play tapped. Again, opting to play Liliana, not really in a hurry to cast the Obstinate Baloth and saying, all right, we can either tick this up and get the spells out of your hand. He knows all of Paulo's cards are spells, or saying, all right, I can cast Obstinate Baloth now with Liliana out for Edict Protection. Baited the Snapcaster Mage too. Obviously, you're never happy to cast Mage without flashing anything back.
4 mana, Obstinate Baloth, I'll gain some life. I am way over 20, and your deck is designed to deal me that 20. Whew.
Well, yeah, I mean, just exactly what the Zoo deck does not want to see. Board full of permanents, life total at 25, getting hit for a quarter of your life total off in Kitchen Finks.
Yeah.
It's not a whole lot Paulo can do right here.
No, he's drawn an Oblivion Ring, that costs 3, he has 2.
Yep.
This is going nowhere. He passes the turn, but we are moments away from an All-Japan final. I mean, there is surely no possible succession of plays that can do anything for Paulo here.
Yeah, I'm sitting here trying to think of what has to happen for Paulo to still be in this game. I mean, he doesn't even have land to cast some of the spells he could draw. Yeah. So, I mean, Watanabe really just going to put it away. You have to think he's going to Edict right here with Paulo at 9. Edict him, attack for 7.
Yep.
And
yeah, sacrifice. In for 7. Paulo's down to 2. Here's Batterskull, and that's game, set, and match. It's an all-Japan final here at the first ever Magic the Gathering Players Championship by 3 matches to 1. Yuuya Watanabe triumphs over Paulo Vitor Damo da Rosa of Brazil. There you see Watanabe. His heart will be beating very fast. When players stumble on mana, you really want to get the job done because you don't want to give them a window back into the game. And there's the huge sigh from Watanabe. He took it down, and he's through to the final. Well, there we are. Zach Hill, you called it. You said that you felt Jund was very advantaged. Now, obviously, any deck with a mix of land and spells is advantaged over a deck that can't cast its spells. So that last game, not representative. But the first 3 kind of was. I think we saw, in a sense, the writing on the wall very early with the double Curd Ape play, and it's just, here's my pressure, and they're all dead.
Well, right, and I mean, the 3/2s from the Jund deck match up very well against the Curd Apes. We saw not a whole lot of very strong starts from Paulo. The one game he was able to get a Geist of Saint Trap and protect it was the game he won, but drawing kind of his tier 2 cards at each spot on the mana curve really didn't leave him a lot of options.
Not a lot of options. Right now, his option is really to find out which of these 2 Japanese giants will be the first ever Players' Championship winner and the 2012 Player of the Year. And I got to tell you that one of these 2 is going to repeat, because Watanabe 2009 and Yasuoka 2006. So you're going to see a double Player of the Year. Only the second person ever to do that after one German juggernaut, Kai Buddha. Let's take you back to the news desk. We'll be back for the final just 10-15 minutes from now, so don't go away. It's going to be showtime here at the Showbox in downtown Seattle. For now, Marshall and Sheldon, take it away.